What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the Aki Audio Garage. Today I got a quick video for you. If you have a Pioneer radio and you're getting that amp overload message, here's what's going on. First of all, that message is a terrible indicator of exactly what's happening. Basically, the blue-white wire, or the blue wire coming out of the Pioneer radio, is overloaded. That wire only puts out a small amount of amperage. So if you're putting accessories on that wire that require more amperage, meaning you're running multiple amps, or you might have your antenna turn on there as also with your amplifier turned on, or you might be turning on a factory amplifier, a factory antenna booster, and then an aftermarket amplifier, that is too much. Those devices require too much amperage, so you can't use just that blue-white wire. Before I continue the video, I just want to let you know we're also going to be talking about the parking bypass for the Pioneer radio at the end of the video, and also your subwoofer settings. So sometimes you'll have power, your amp will turn on, but there'll be no sound, and that comes down to the subwoofer output actually not putting out any output. The recommendation there is, for the quick fix, is to leave your amplifier on the blue-white or your factory amplifier on the blue-white, but move your other accessories to the red wire. So the red wire is your accessory wire. You would then, that would turn on and off with ignition. You could hook up your power antenna there or other accessories that you plan to run. But your amplifiers, you do want to keep them on the blue-white wire, because if you move them off, you could get some popping on and off depending when your radio is turning on and off. So the Pioneer radio is pretty good. It'll turn on the signal, then turn on that blue-white wire, so it'll be a slight delay there. If you bypass it for your amplifiers, you might get a pop. If you need to run multiple amplifiers off that one wire, you can use a relay, grab primary power from the yellow wire, use the blue-white as a trigger, and then use the relay to power on your amps. So that error is really annoying. It gets in the way and it's not very informative, so I hope this helped you out. All right, so here's a parking bypass, and it's just a little circuit board with a little chip and 3 wires. This is ground, this is a rear remote or the power, and this is the actual output wire. So ground, input, output. What this does is it's going to pulse or simulate you pressing your parking brake. So basically, work with me. We're in the car. I go to put my foot down. I press the brake. That's like me flipping this switch. So flip that switch. I press the brake. I let it go. The switch flips back. So the Pioneer radio, for legal reasons and safety features, disables certain menus and functionalities without the parking brake being engaged. Sometimes you want to access that functionality without engaging the parking brake. So that's where you use the bypass. All the bypass does is it's going to simulate you pressing the brake. This bypass does it very quickly. It might do it in 2 seconds, a second, a fraction of a second, while you will do it slower. So Pioneer has caught on to this. So while this bypass will work, it won't always let you watch video. So here you can see that the Bluetooth settings are grayed out. So if I take our green parking brake wire while the radio is on, and I connect this green wire to ground, so basically this green wire, the copper from the green wire, I touch it to either the metal of the radio, some metal in the car while the radio's on, it will bypass the first layer and allow me into different settings. So with my switch back there, you can see I can't get into Bluetooth settings now. When I press that brake, I can get into Bluetooth settings. So now I can edit those and clear my list. That's because of that green wire. That's that green wire going to ground. What this does is, instead of you pressing the switch like I did, this automatically does it for you, and you don't have to do any switch pressing. The drawback to these is, depending on which one you use, the brands, the timing of the chip could be too fast for the Pioneer radio to realize. So what will end up happening is it'll let you into the Bluetooth settings, but here I have some USB media. If I try to play my USB media, it won't play. From my USB media, I am trying to play a video. It won't allow me. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pump my parking brake or press my switch. You could wire a switch as well. You don't have to use a bypass. So I'm gonna press my switch, it's then going to say, hey, I see you engaged the parking brake, but now I want you to let it go, then repress it. Your bypass doesn't have the ability to do that. So the little chip in here doesn't know. It turns on and off with the radio. It doesn't work independently how your foot brake would. So now with the switch, what you can do is turn it off, turn it on again, and now I can hit OK and view the video that I wanted to view. So it's very common for this to happen with your parking bypass. And what you can do is add a switch to the parking bypass. So these seem silly, but basically you install the parking bypass and then you install a switch along with it. So this will always auto go, but when you need to get into video playback, you can use your button to get you in and out of that. If you don't want to go through that, there are other bypasses. They're more expensive, so these tend to be between 10 and 15 bucks. There are other ones that are more expensive. I want to say $20 to $30 that will do it all at once. All right, so here's your Pioneer harness. To wire your bypass, all you're going to do is connect the following 3 wires. So you're going to have blue, white, black, and green. And we're going to connect blue to blue, black to black, and green to green. Green isn't going to get connected to anything else, so we can easily just cut it down, strip it, and hook it up to my green. Now your blue wire or your blue-white wire you might need to connect other items to this. So for that, we will then connect our blue-white in line so that we can add other wires. So you don't want to cut any other connections from your blue-white wire off. You just want to add it to those. And the same for the black. So the black is extra long on the Pioneer. We're just going to cut it down some. And then to our black, we're going to take the black from the bypass and add it. So again, you're not cutting it through or out or anything. They're just getting added like that, and you can make the rest of your connections here. If your if your Pioneer harness is already complete and you need to add it to the harness, it's very simple. Your green will be like this, but the connections for the black and the blue, you will then strip some insulation like so and wrap the wire around instead. So if your Pioneer harness is already connected, you can strip the insulation, wrap your wire around, and tape it, and that'll be the same way to connect it instead of connecting it here at the ends if you already have a wired harness. Now, if you don't want to use the bypass, you can get yourself a switch like this. You will just have to run it somewhere in your car, and you would hook up black to black, and red to green, or whatever the other color is to green. And basically this would act the same as the bypass. You would just wire the switch. When the radio prompted you, you would turn it on, turn it off, turn it on, and now you'd be able to get into video mode. Newer Pioneer radios come with a pigtail for your RCAs, so you want to make sure you connect this if you're going to be hooking up aftermarket equipment, other amplifiers for either subs or speakers. And also I think your backup camera is here, or your rear output for your video. Okay, so our radio's on. We have our subwoofer out. RCAs running to our RTA. And basically what I want to talk to you about right now is sometimes you'll have audio playing, but there will be nothing coming out of your subwoofer. Your blue-white wire, you check your blue-white wire, and it's putting out 12 volts. Your amp is turning on. You just have nothing coming through the RCAs. You're going to go into your settings. You're going to go into audio and EQ settings, and you just want to go into the sub and the X over. You want to make sure your subwoofer is on. Sometimes there is no switch for the subwoofer to turn it on and off, but if there is, you want to make sure it's on, And on some radios, especially the entry-level model Pioneers, you want to make sure you set this to a cutoff. So normally 100 hertz, 125 hertz is perfect. If you know what you want it to be, you can set it at whatever, but usually base you want it to be below 100 hertz. So if this isn't set or this isn't on, it's very possible that you will not have any output on that subwoofer, and it's very common to mistake that the radio is bad instead of checking this setting.